clapping, start cheering, go crazy for the amazing Andrew West!
Thank you very much. Good evening, folks. It's lovely to be gigging in a cinema. We're enormous film fans in my family. We're really big fans of the Oscars, in particular. We follow the Oscars mainly on Twitter, and that's because the hashtag is fantastic free advertising for my Uncle Theo's taxi company. You're very sharp, Bristol. I did the joke in Nottingham 2 weeks ago. It took the whole of my 10-minute set for everyone to get it. Now, I hate it when celebrities or pairs of celebrities, they have their names squished together to make these ludicrous sort of compound names like Jedward, of course, John and Edward, and Brad and Angelina. Brangelina. Now, it's very lucky that my grandparents weren't famous because their names. I'll be honest with you. I wrote this joke, took the rest of the week off. Now, my name should be much more straightforward. You wouldn't imagine being called Andrew West would have any drawbacks at all. But when your surname is West, there are, well, a lot of names that you can't call your children. Now, don't give these too much credit, folks. These are kind of cheap and lazy punchlines. It's more complicated than just those, of course. Now, you can't send a child out into the world, can you, with the same name as a company that makes tinned fish? Other kids are going to pick up on that, I think. Other kids can be cruel. You might find this hard to believe based on the people you've seen up on stage tonight, but it's the fact that most comedians, at some point in their lives, have been bullied. I know. It's a wonder I turned out so well balanced, isn't it? And not doing some job that involves endlessly pursuing the approval of complete strangers. But let's face it, this is not the job for the well-adjusted personality that had a happy childhood. This is a job for the kids who had to find a way to distract the bullies before they were on the receiving end of a wedgie so brutal that if they sneezed, they'd be sliced in three. Getting bullied is virtually in our DNA. Therefore, if I have children, they're going to be very bullyable children. They are going to be kind of scrawny and awkward, and they might inherit this forehead that I could rent out for advertising space. I can't make it worse for them by sending them out into the big bad world with a slightly funny name. Now, Adam West, of course, most famous as Batman in the slightly camp 1960s TV series. So, you know, it's upsetting enough to imagine your child being beaten up at school. It's even worse to imagine them being beaten up by a group of kids going, "Hey, Adam, come over here. I've got something to show you." Kapow! Now, this is a genuine kapow sign from the Batman TV series. I recognise these jokes won't be the funniest you've ever heard, but by God, they are painstakingly researched. So it's hard in stand-up comedy to get the credit you deserve for really thorough research. Thank you very much. Now, it's no easier trying to choose names for girls. Let's take Natalie, for example. Now, I've got a great friend called Natalie. Natalie's one of the most important and influential people I've ever met. I'd consider it an honour and a privilege to be able to name a daughter of mine after her, but it's completely impossible, of course. Now, you have to be a bit careful as well with combinations of first names and middle names. I could never use any names like this, for example. It's cruel to send a child out into the world with initials like this, isn't it? You've been phenomenally patient with that, Bristol. Thank you very much. Now, you might suggest I've overanalyzed the name situation a bit. I don't know, maybe that would be fair. But I do think your name is important for a start. It's usually the source of your nickname at school. Now, you might not think that being called Andrew West would lend itself to much in the way of humiliating nicknames, but me and my brother went to the same school, and for the best part of 7 years, we were referred to as a pair of Westicles. it was worse for him. He was the smaller one. But of course, we blame my dad for all of this. It's from our dad. We inherited the name, of course. It's a difficult relationship. My dad's he's got 5 different kids from 3 different marriages, which kind of makes him sound like some Henry VIII figure, going through wife after wife, trying to sire the perfect heir. Henry VIII, of course, a man who never really got to grips with the rules of shag, marry, kill. But my dad's not like that, really, I suppose. I guess the uncomfortable truth is it's just that he and I are much more similar than either of us would care to admit, and that's why we don't get on. Well, except that he's really short. Now, I recognise I'm not exactly tall. I'm sort of average height, I think. I'm sort of average height, average build, average sort of everything, really. I put the median into comedian. And, well, you're very generous. That is some mediocre wordplay at best, I think. Not that many audiences go for jokes involving statistics, to be honest. My experience, 11% of audiences go for jokes involving statistics. If you've been to a lot of live comedy before, you'll have seen sometimes a comedian will kind of roll out their punchline, and it's not like on television. Sometimes audiences just don't go for it. And in that situation, sometimes comedians will say something like, "Oh, come on, that deserved more," which is stupid, of course, because it's the audience's job to decide how much credit a joke deserves. On this occasion, though, I think Bristol, that deserved a bit less, if I'm honest. I'll illustrate for you how short my dad is, though. Sometimes if I buy him clothes, like I might buy him a football shirt for Christmas, and I have to buy him the boys' age 13 shirt. Now, if you're having trouble picturing how small that is, it's about 2 sizes up from those ones that you see hanging in the back of people's cars. Now, that sounds laughable, of course. It's great for me because there's no VAT on children's clothes. Not many audiences go for jokes involving VAT, to be honest. But the ones that do are 20% better than other audiences, of course. Oh, I wish I could carry you around to all my gigs. This is fantastic. That's the biggest similarity between my dad and I. We're both very careful with our money, so I think about that sort of stuff. I'll give you an example. At the moment, I'm using my next-door neighbour's unsecured Wi-Fi network instead of paying for my own. Now, you're all good people. You probably see that as me stealing their Wi-Fi. I see it as their Wi-Fi trespassing on my front room. And, they are very lucky that I'm not pressing charges, to be honest. Especially when you see the kind of disgusting pornography that it brings into my front room. Because I've conducted several hundred hours of research. I had to get a PhD student in and everything. And I'll leave you tonight with 2 things I learned from my research. I learned, firstly, that the Viagra fan club has got a lot of long-standing members. Oh, come on, that deserved more. And secondly, I learned that naughty film legend Ron Jeremy, he makes a cameo appearance in Ghostbusters. That's a verifiable fact. You can go away and check it. It's not just a stupid setup for a lame joke. Well, it's not just a stupid setup for a lame joke. And that means that Ghostbusters is the only film where Ron Jeremy only has a small part. You have been lovely to talk to. Thank you very much.
Andrew West!